Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pelt Music Podcast. Shortly, we'll be chatting with Skinny Lister, who released their new album Shanty Punk on October the 20th. But before then, the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever you're watching or listening. So welcome to Dan and Lorna to the Pelt Music Podcast. Obviously, lots of exciting stuff in the world of Skinny Lister at the moment that we can talk about. But first things first, how are you both doing today?
We're great. We're busy, which is good. Yeah, obviously with a new album coming out, and we're off to the States on Sunday for a month-long tour. So yeah, busy, but all good. That's what we want.
Exactly. We all need to be busy, definitely, and so much exciting things, so many exciting things for us to talk about, obviously, on this episode. We're going to start off though with Mantra, obviously the most recent single that you've put out ahead of the release of the album. And first question is really, what can you tell us about the song and the themes behind the song?
It's one of those songs that's just about grabbing the moment while it's there. It's a classic theme, I suppose, but it's about recognizing, as the lyrics say, recognizing what you have while you have it. It's that classic thing about, once something's gone, you don't realize what you've got till it's gone. It's that kind of theme, but yeah, it's slightly out of step in stylistically with a lot of tracks on the album, because it's got a slightly Americana feel, almost Cajun. Lorna says she released it in a Dolly Parton.
Said it.
But yeah, I really like it. It's very accordion driven, and as I say, it's got that sort of slightly American, almost Cajun feel to it. It's really fun to play.
Yeah, it's nice to sing as well. And the video was really good fun making that, because there's this legend in Hastings called Glenn Vaness. He's featured on like a previous video of ours, but he's a real character and he's got a massive love of life. And his mantra is his garden. And he also made like family videos or videos of the local people for years and years and years, going back to the 80s sort of thing. So it was a perfect opportunity, because he's had some hardship and stuff, and they've what kept him going, as well as family. So it was great to get in his garden and do a gig, because he has like Glastonbury sort of thing. It's an amazing garden. Can't quite explain it really, but so yeah, we had.
Have to watch the video.
Yeah, watch the video. You get the gist.
It's basically a party gig in someone's garden, at the end of our garden, but it was really good.
But also using his footage as well. So it was a special evening. It's a really special evening in memory of his son, and it's a special song for that reason. Now, like when we put that video together, it made it even more sort of enjoyable to sing and special for us. So I'm looking forward to performing that on our upcoming tours.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the video, I encourage listeners definitely to go and check the video out. And there will be a link in the bio of the episode for it, because it's such a lovely, touching video. I've just spent the last sort of hour refreshing myself, of the latest sort of videos and that you've got, because I always ask about music videos on the podcast, because I grew up watching music TV, and it's really a dying art these days. And the amount of bands that I get on the podcast, I go, right, let's find a video that I can watch, and I'll ask them about the video, and there's no video, because that's the first thing that kind of gets cut from the budget these days.
I mean, it's not that we spend a massive budget on ours, to be honest, but it's not really about that for us. It's about having some idea and sort of making that a reality. There's certainly no, hundreds of thousands of pounds spent on our videos.
It's one of my favourite bits.
Yeah, we always feel the urge to make at least, 5 or 6 videos for each album that we do, and it's sort of part of our output, and it's part of our creative output, I think, as well as doing the songs. We always have good fun coming up with the ideas.
Stressful at the time, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And
you never know if you're going to pull it off or not.
We've got a new video coming out very soon, actually, just before the release of the album, called Into the Breach, where we put ourselves through a bit of a challenge on that one. But we've had things, I don't know if you see, we've done videos where we've had jellied eel eating competitions and things. It's more about the sort of the idea. And sometimes
we're not actors, and so we try to avoid that by just putting ourselves in difficult situations.
But there's plenty of our videos out there if people want to check them out.
Yeah, no, and I encourage them to. Obviously, YouTube is the place to do that these days because sort of music TV has died out, and there'll be a link in the bio, and definitely encourage listeners to go and do that. And I'm so appreciative of the fact that you do go through the effort, because I say I do love a music video, and I checked even something that isn't a sort of live action kind of video, like obviously Down on the Barrier. The video that you've got out for that, I was just going to touch on that as well and just say how painstaking was that to make, because it works incredibly well.
It was quite painstaking. It was basically me and Max locked ourselves in a room for a weekend.
On one of the hottest weekends of the year. You were just in a dark room.
In our kind of studio space that we used to record as well, and got the lamps out and got this program that did stop motion.
I was like, this is going to be rubbish. This is going to be absolute rubbish. I'm so nervous.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad you like it, because we thought it came out pretty well. And we kind of, I mean, this album as a whole kind of distills Skinny Lister, I think. And it's very, it's why we called it Shanty Punk. It kind of takes all the main themes and threads of what Skinny Lister is and puts it into one album. And that video in particular kind of took a lot of that imagery, Land Rovers, boots, Lorna's shoes,
there's
horse
so much
brasses,
stuff in
flagons.
that video.
We kind of chucked it all in there image-wise and sort of just created a stop-motion thing. Which
I've been calling Dan a hoarder for years and trying to get rid of all this stuff. And then it was like, oh, thank God we didn't. It was perfect.
There's always, you never know when you'll need it.
I'm with you on that one completely, Dan. Yep. And really interesting as you sort of get onto the album there and talk about it being like an encapsulation of everything that makes Skinny Lister, because I've had a sneak peek of it, and I've sort of almost finished writing my review for it that's going to go up on the website. And I think a phrase I've put in there is, this is the most Skinny Lister album.
Oh, well, that's nice to hear you say that.
That's what we were aiming, without being too directive.
If it feels like that, then that's kind of we've sort of done the job that we intended to do in a way. But yeah, I agree with that. And it's taken, not only musically, but thematically, everything. It's kind of the big Skinny Lister themes that we've, I mean, we still feel it's very, there's we feel there's a fresh dynamic thing to it as well. But in essence, it is the essence of Skinny Lister, I think. And we've already sort of road tested a bunch of the songs live, and they kind of slot into our live set already. So it's kind of built for the road as well, which is good, because we're about to go on the road for a
long time.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely echo that, and I think it's mission achieved for one. You've definitely achieved what you set out to do. And as far as the songs fitting in live, I've managed to catch you twice this summer in Gloucester for the Extra Mile recording celebration, and Beans on Toast Full Hardy Folk Festival as well.
Oh, that was fun.
Nice.
What a day that was! Exactly.
Yeah. We're actually hooking up with Beans again in a couple of weeks in Orlando and Atlanta. Yeah, because we're both doing the Flogging Molly Salty Dog cruise, so we're doing a couple of shows together before that. So yeah, it's never far away from.
No,
he's definitely part of the family.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And like I say, the new songs fit in so well with obviously the fan favourites in the set, and like Down on the Barrier that we touched on, really. Possibly more so than any, like I say, just such a great live song. And obviously, I was going to ask on that. It was the first single that came out from the album, and I always think the first single from any album is a real statement piece to say this is where we're heading, this is what we're doing. So why pick obviously Down on the Barrier? What set that song out for you?
I think the sentiment of the song was did lay that sort of, the statement of intent out, because it's about, going to a live show and enjoying, the music from our point of view as well.
We couldn't wait to get out on the road. And I think though, when we play that in the studio, it's one of my favourites when we've been putting it together, and it just gives that real feel of going out to a gig, which we're raring to do. Come on.
I mean, the song plays on the whole story, the parallel between going to church or going, it's, a lot of almost a religion for a lot of people, these things, or or a big deal in people's lives, and it's sort of that sense of community at gigs and stuff, that it's trying to celebrate that sort of stuff. That's such a big part of what Skin Lister does, that I think maybe that's the reason why we did that. Although we never, we don't always put massive thought into these things, to be honest. Sometimes it's like, this track's nearly ready, so this is what we could go. Sometimes it's
really professional.
It's as simple as that. But
no, we had all our tours lined up, ready to announce, and it just seemed like, okay, we're going to call these tours Down on the Barrier, and
Yeah, but having said that, there's a few. I mean, the Company of the Bar, the track we put out after that, is kind of another statement of intent.
Could have easily been that.
It's about hanging down together at a pub, or it's got the travelling theme as well. And then we've got another single coming out, Unto the Breach, which you've probably heard if you've heard the album. That's another kind of statement of intent as well, and that's coming out next. So there's a few of that kind of, that feel. There's tracks with that feel on the album, I think. So and they all work live.
Yeah.
We're going to have a playing the album in full when we play Flogging Molly Salty Dog Cruise, which will be fun as well. I'm looking forward to that. Be a bit of a change.
Yeah.
Well, I always love, being a fan of the band for a while, that when you do put out a new album, you play at least the majority, if not all, of that new album live. It shows that you've got a lot of faith in the new material, because a lot of bands will perhaps cherry pick one or two singles off a new album, slot it into the existing set. Say kudos to you for
balance that, because I know as a fan, often when I go see someone that I love, I don't want to hear too many of the new album, to be honest. But you've got to. I don't think we ever do the entire new album, but we certainly like to bring a chunk of it in, because it's your new. You've got to. You've got to introduce those tracks to people, and they're maybe the tracks that in a couple of years they're live favourites, like a lot of the other live favourites, and that happens every time. So, yeah.
But it's nice to keep it fresh.
It is, yeah.
Keep you on your toes.
Yeah, exactly, and I love it, and I'd encourage more bands to factor in more newer material, but I know it's always a fine balance and act. But yeah, obviously Shanty Punk is out on October the 20th, so obviously I've had that sneak peek, so I can rant and rave about how great it is. But obviously this podcast is going to come out slightly ahead of the release, so if you were to sit down, and we've kind of touched on it being the most Skinny Lister album, but if you were to sit down and just say to listeners, what they should expect from this album, what would you tell them?
Yeah, well, actually, because I was saying to someone yesterday that if there's someone who doesn't know what Skin Lister is, or they don't know that this is the album to maybe play them. But if I'm trying to explain to someone what this album is, I mean, I'd say it's pretty folky.
It's upbeat. It's joyful.
Upbeat. Yeah, it's sort of light. Not light, but it's not. There's nothing in there that's politically driven or heavy. It's kind of pretty much party music.
To show you how light it is, there's a track on there recorded and sung by my dad, his own song. So that's Party George, and for anyone that's seen us live, he's like my inspiration and just a great party attitude, and he sings his own song on there. So
it doesn't take itself seriously in any way.
No.
Although we're at the same time we are serious about the songs and stuff, but it's not. Yeah, it's not a heavy, serious thing.
Cerebral.
It's more, and, not to take away from it, because it's got some more poignant moments on there as well. A couple of those. So, I don't know. You have to have a listen to it. Hopefully, people like it.
Exactly. And I encourage listeners, as soon as it's out, to obviously do that, and preferably pre-order a copy.
Pre-order, please. Makes a difference.
It makes such a difference for bands. And I don't think fans really understand the difference that pre-ordering albums, buying tickets in advance to shows, the difference that it does make to obviously independent acts.
Yeah,
True.
no, it's a big deal for us.
I mean, COVID came along and it did kind of change a bit of that. Some people are more reluctant to pre-book tickets, like you say, and it was still, there's a little bit of that hangover from that still. So yeah, I think you're right, and it's good to encourage people to, if you're thinking of coming to a Skinny gig on the next UK tour, get your tickets in advance. But some are very close to sell out as well, so you do need to move quick on some. But yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely encourage listeners. It's always a great night with you guys. And obviously we touched on Extra Mile earlier because I said obviously I attended that birthday celebration for them in Gloucester, and obviously you've worked with them again on the new album. So how was the whole process of obviously getting the album recorded and working with Extra Mile again this time around?
Well, they're great, aren't they? They've got a great community of artists, and they're pretty lenient in what we want to do as an artist. They're pretty open-minded. They keep in check and make sure things are sounding good. But
they're very supportive, and they've been supportive of how we've made these albums as well. This last 2 albums we've produced ourselves, and recorded ourselves, which is a slightly different way of doing it. But it's kind of been liberating in that we can sort of realise how we envision.
I mean, Stan can work 24/7 on his tracks, and he's not ringing somebody up saying.
But we did. We went into a studio and recorded pretty live a lot of the basics of these tracks. The drums and my guitars, for instance, went down, and we didn't touch them again. We didn't tidy anything up. This is probably people who are into music production, but nothing was tweaked or put onto a grid. It's sort of me and Tim playing that track live. So we built on that sort of organic basis, and we hope that it comes across on the tracks as being quite an organic feeling album and close to our live, the live experience of Skinny Lister. It's always difficult to get that live room atmosphere, but it's towards that, we hope.
Yeah, and I think that's what feeds into it being the most Skinny Lister album as well, perhaps, obviously, is because you are a band that just thrives on stage, and obviously it is difficult, but I think you do capture that on record really, really well. And obviously, encourage again listeners to pick up a copy and to come and see you live, which brings us on to the next sort of portion that we're going to talk about. And obviously the live shows that you've got coming up, and you've got a lot coming up, which is fantastic for fans. There's going to be a show near you can come along to, and obviously release week of the album, you're actually going to be over in America playing obviously across the US, and I imagine with about a week before you set off, you are busy planning and getting packed and everything for that. But how excited are you to get over there and play?
Yeah, it's gonna. I mean, we did a big 8-week tour over there earlier this year, around February, March time, with Flogging Molly, who we've done gigs with before. So we have been there this year, but it's great to be able to go back again in the same year. And this time it's our own headline tour, which leads into the Flogging Molly cruise in Miami. But so yeah, anyone on the East Coast, that's where we're gonna be mainly. So we go to our favourites, Boston, we're going to Chicago. New York will be the actual release party. That's on the 20th. That falls on the day of release of the album. So that's going to be a proper, official album release party. That'll be good fun. But yeah, no, it's great. I mean, America's always, been great to us, and it's great to keep going back. We had that little blip during the COVID stuff where we didn't get there for a couple of years, but we're getting back there now, which is great.
Yeah. Making up for lost time, definitely.
Yeah.
And obviously that will lead you straight in to the UK. Obviously November, December, you've got just a load of again, something I admire about yourselves, as a band, is you do tour the UK. You don't just play London, Manchester, Birmingham, Glasgow. You are literally out there playing all the cities. And obviously there'll be a link in the bio again for listeners to pick a date and hopefully come along to.
And there are some dates in this tour that we've never played before, so it's always interesting to get some towns we've never been. Carlisle,
Stockton,
Swansea. Yeah, so there's a few places we've never dived into, so you never quite know what you're going to get, but they'll be fun. Yeah, it's good to sort of branch out a little bit each time.
Oh yeah, the joys of touring, from a band. Yeah, you're getting your music out there and having that connection with an audience, but you getting to see the world as well. And Stockton in particular, I noticed has got a bit of a thriving scene going on actually. So
Right.
it should be a really really good tour. And I just wanted to ask as well. Obviously, I've touched on live. You are just you're able to get this connection with an audience that I think is quite rare these days to see. There is a real community around the band, and obviously having seen you, supporting acts, headlining shows, headlining at festivals, playing that lower down slots of festivals, having a win over new audiences, it's something you do so well. So I just wanted to just ask you the question: if you were to give advice to a new band sort of coming up on how to, build that connection on the stage, especially those bigger stages, what would you say to a younger band?
Ooh, I mean, with us, it's been a case of kind of just being ourselves and being authentically ourselves. I think.
Love what you do. I
Yeah.
think as long as you're having a good time, that always shows. Like, I've been won over by artists that I don't even, I've never rated, but I've seen them say on a certain stage at Glastonbury, and you can tell in their face, they're just like, wow, can't believe I'm here. And it can win you over if somebody is on stage feeling good about what they're doing. I think it shows and it comes across. And
I mean, we've had a lot of people come to us after gigs and say, you just love you seem to love what you're doing. And it's kind of, I think that's contagious, yeah.
And that's not just the performing the music. I think hanging out as a band, we all get on really well, with sort of family as well. But all of that comes together, and obviously loving the music that you do. And I don't know, I've grown up in folk clubs, listening to my dad singing and drinking since I was a baby. So it feels like it's part of us, really. And
we also over the years we've sort of bribed the audience with what you run. I'm not advising young bands do that, but the flag and
have a few gimmicks.
But I think that just be yourselves. I think in a way, because that's kind of what we've done. But being a party band wouldn't apply to, I don't know, a very serious electro duo.
But
it works for us. Yeah.
Still love what you do.
Yeah.
It's like, as long as it shows that you're loving what you do and you feel like you're in that moment, I think that's contagious. And that's the amazing thing about live music that you don't get anywhere else. And that can be a really special moment, whether it's really, chilled or really exciting and party.
Yeah, no, definitely. It is infectious, as you say, and you can see that you're really, really having a great time, and that helps the audience have a great time as well, definitely. And obviously, the flagging you touched upon has obviously been such a big part of your shows in the past, and it does get me thinking sometimes. When obviously it starts getting, have you ever got in trouble for doing that? Perhaps at a festival or somewhere? Or?
We have actually, yeah. Not massively, but yeah. Well, it was in Leicester was the worst example of that.
Well, yeah, the second time.
No, yeah, but the first time,
somebody bought the flag.
They didn't like it. I mean, sometimes there's concerns. It's like, well, who's going to drink from the flag, and are they going to be, underage? Is the main.
Yeah.
We always make sure that doesn't happen. But we had it taken off us at Leicester show.
My mum had to go and collect it back, so we had to sell it to somebody else.
Someone had bought
it. And then, so knew that was big trouble and a no-go. And then the next time we played that venue.
With Less Than Jake, wasn't it? We had it, and we got into big bother. No one got arrested.
No.
But, it was
promoters were having.
But having said that, the thousands of gigs we've had the flag on that.
Exactly.
That it's a tiny blip. The biggest impact on the flag was COVID, because obviously it became very inappropriate to be handing out a communal flag.
But I swear, there's so much alcohol in there.
It disinfects it.
Exactly. I was actually a primary school teacher for a while, and I drank from that flagon every night we were gigging, and I never got ill. So,
and the other
thing
thing we did while the flagon was away is we used to just get little shot glasses and pour out rum and hand them out. But for the upcoming UK tour, expect to see the return of the flagon
and the return
COVID.
Well, hopefully not the second, but we're definitely it whets the appetite, and fans definitely, you need to get down the front and get a taste of that flagon and come to a UK show.
Yeah, have to participate.
Absolutely, and obviously, just to finish off on the live side of things, then first part of next year, January, February, obviously you're back out across Europe as well, which is something that we couldn't really do back in those dark days of the pandemic. So, and again, talking about going around and seeing new places and meeting new people, Europe is such a fantastic place. I bet again you're really excited to get out there and do that.
Out there, it's amazing.
We've always had such a good following in Germany. It's that kind of a core of a European tour for us. But everywhere else, we're going to get to Paris again this time. I've not been there for a few years now, but that was great last time we played there. So it's just it's a bit of an adventure, isn't it? Europe's great, and that's as you say, through January and February. So
Yeah, no, definitely. And listeners, obviously the best way to stay up to date with the band these days is social media. So I always give out the social handles, and they should flash up on YouTube as well if my wizardry on the editor works properly. And you make my life really, really easy, because it is literally at Skinny Lister across the board, wherever you do your social mediaing. So thank you for making my life easy on that one.
No one else uses that, thankfully. So,
It's a bonus of having a slightly unique name, definitely these days on the social media front. So it's obviously there's so much going on with the band that we've been able to talk about, and listeners definitely get involved. The final portion of the podcast that we've added in a few months back, and I'll put you on the spot slightly with this one. But there's two of you, so you can have a go each. It's called Magic Wand, and basically, we've identified during the past of this podcast that there are a lot of issues in the music industry, and we're going to go into fantasy land for a little while, and I'm going to give you both a magic wand, and you can pick one thing, but one thing only, to change about the music industry. And this is where it gets tough, because a lot of people, narrowing it down to just one is the tough bit. So who would like to go first and change the world?
Obviously more women backstage in the production side and out front and headlining festivals and things like that.
We're coming across more and more, I think. No,
it's a man's world.
Yeah.
Definitely a man's world.
And as a white straight man, it is, isn't it, dominated still by people such as myself. And more diversity is never ever going to be a bad thing. It's only going to bring about just better quality music and new ideas, and just obviously just make the world a better place. So I think that's a really, really good one, Lorna, definitely.
I'm really struggling to think about what about the industry. I mean, the obvious one that most people would probably say is the way the record sales have gone right down, and everything's and the streaming thing is so big, yet the money provided to artists from the streaming thing is very tricky. So I don't know if I'm not quite sure of the solution, and I don't want to completely knock things like Spotify, because I think there's a good side to them in that they're good at introducing people to certain artists, etc. And you kind of need that to then feed the live thing and the merch thing. So I don't want to completely knock that, but I think there's something that needs to be recalibrated slightly in that whole sort of streaming record sales thing. I'm not quite sure what the answer is, unfortunately, but
a better balance needs to be struck that doesn't leave the artist at the bottom of the pile, basically, I think. So Dan, again, a really, really good one. And through this portion of the podcast, hopefully we're just highlighting to people that listen that perhaps don't realize some of the issues that are out there. Obviously, unfortunately, that magic wand isn't real. So there's a lot of work to be done on both of those points. But definitely awareness wise, it's great to get the feedback from the artists themselves on this podcast. So no, thank you both for that. And obviously, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast and having this chat. It's been really, really enjoyable. And I always just give the last section back to you and just say, what would be your final message for the listeners today?
Shanty Punks unite.
Ah, yes.
Fantastic. Absolutely love it. Yeah, thank you both so much for joining me.
All right, thank you.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with Skinny Lister. Do make sure you check out their new album, Shanty Punk, on October the 20th. And of course, follow the band across social media to stay up to date with everything coming from them. You can also stay up to date with Full Pelt. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And finally, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening, because we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast.